conducting an inquiry into the law enforcement capacity and capability of ASIC, and we have been taking submissions and conducting public hearings to better understand the way that ASIC does things.
The inquiry, which ran for almost 3 years in the 90s, was initiated by concerns about the failings of the investigative functions of the ASC, and initially it arose out of something called Ostholm Investments. But the mistake we made was as legislators, we became captives of the legislation. And instead of looking at the big picture, we became too focused on what changes needed to be made to this section or that section in the belief that that would solve the problem. 30 years has gone by. The investigative and enforcement practices of ASIC are no better and arguably worse than the investigative and enforcement practices of its predecessor 30 years ago. We look at insolvency, and remember, insolvency cases are just part of the broad gamut of financial crime in Australia for which ASIC notionally has responsibility. The role of insolvency law is twofold. It is, first of all, to ensure economic efficiency, and secondly, it's to ensure justice. And when I use the word justice, I think in terms of what the Emperor Justinian said in the sort of 7th century, that justice is the constant and perpetual desire to render to each person that which is their due. For reasons that will become obvious as I go through this, it is very clear that ASIC is not rendering justice to the victims of financial crime. Now, I've applied a normal distribution analysis of this, and I've arrived at the very conservative estimate that in 2018-19, the deficiency of assets to liabilities in companies, which is the amount to which creditors are being ripped off because they are owed money and they will never be repaid at this money, the extent of those debts was over $8 billion.
The man launders £1 million, he's a crook. But a few billion, now you're talking. Money has no smell as long as there's enough of it. Who cares what the Russians do as long as they spend their cash here?
There's really no need to be quite so emotional.
You're right, Mr. Secretary. We've all seen too much of the world. Not wanking around, eh? And all the dirty money that's sloshing around, the profits of heartache and pain, we've seen that too. Heroin in Afghanistan, billions. Arms in the Sudan, billions. Female trafficking, billions. And AIDS of the world fucking economy, black as black. We all know that. Blood money. That's all it is. It could be in a box under a drug lord's bed or in a city bank next to the vintage port. It doesn't change colour, it's still blood money.